Hello, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you're new here, hi, my name is Madison. I read the Akashic Records, which is sort of like your soul's library, but it also contains information to general questions. I also do energy healing through Reiki, and I also am a medium. So I talk about a lot of spiritual and New Earth concepts on my channel. So if that's something you're into, I would love to have you follow along. So today we're talking about, are there aliens among us? So I've wanted to start exploring the Akashic Records, asking more about interdimensional beings, time travel. A lot of these may be more fundamental concepts that people have ideas or opinions on. And I sort of wanted just to go to the Akashic Records, ask a bunch of questions, and I'm just going to kind of go through this dialogue with you guys. So if you are not familiar with the Akashic Records, the Akashic Records is essentially a container of light that you can tap into through a pathway prayer. You connect to your spirit guide or your Akashic guide, and then you can find out things like your soul purpose, your past lives, but you can also go in and just ask questions about general universal topics, right? So I literally just went into the Akashic Records. I connected with my guide, the guide I work with in the Akashic Records. Her name is Jules. So I connect with Jules and I'm like, hey, I have some questions about aliens. She's like, all right, let's get into it. So first thing I said, are there aliens among us? And I very specifically meant like, are there aliens here on planet Earth? Not do aliens exist? I think most of us now know and agree that aliens exist, especially with what's come out recently in the Epstein files and all this stuff, right? It's sort of being very much validated. And so now I feel like it's a little bit more, people are wanting answers, right? Now we're like, okay, yes, they exist. Let's find out more. So the answer from the Akashic Records to, are there aliens among us? Yes, there are various types of interdimensional beings around, both physically and through astral projection. So if you've never heard of astral projection is the concept that you can get into a deep state of trance meditation. You can actually sort of disconnect your consciousness from your physical body, and your consciousness then becomes your astral body, and this astral body can travel around. If this sounds crazy to you, it sounded super crazy to me when I first heard of this concept, but if you look into it, like the CIA has been using it for like 100 years probably, for just various things. So it's a very real topic in like the quantum community. You can look up like scientific remote viewing if you want to learn more about it. But so aliens are here physically and through astral projection, which means there are a lot of aliens that have their astral bodies or their consciousness here on planet Earth, but may not physically be here. So I said, okay, so this means that aliens could be spirit guides. And this is something I've been wondering, because I've had this come up in a couple readings lately where people have been like, I really think my spirit guides are my star family and they're interdimensional. And I very much got like a, oh yeah, that's absolutely possible, but I wanted to revisit it. So the answer was, our spirit guides, okay, so this means aliens could be spirit guides. And the answer was yes. In the same way, angels or past loved ones, aliens can also be your spirit guides. And I'm going to start referring to them as interdimensional beings after this. I sort of kind of picked up that's like the preferred verbiage rather than aliens. And I think it also sort of brings some more relativity to the fact that like they are just interdimensional beings. They're not anything weird. It's just something that exists on other planets and sometimes on ours, and it's just different than what we know or experience. So okay, so I said, are there any negative ETs? The answer was yes, many that want to control your planet and keep people in fear. I said, would this be the reptilians? If you never heard of the reptilians, it's coming out a lot again with the EP files. I'm going to try not to say that so the video doesn't get flagged. But it's very clear, you know, from a lot of the rituals and things that were being done, that it is showing or alluding to a lot of the people that are involved in those rituals are not human. They are maybe shapeshifters, or maybe reptilians, or maybe in masks, or maybe clones. Like there's a lot of things to unpack behind that, right? So I said, is this reptilians? The answer was, as humans refer to them, yes. But there's also negative grays, negative Anunnaki, negative blues, But there are many more good than bad ETs, and many are here actually to help humanity advance. And this I wanted to unpack because I've heard this, right? A lot of people talk about how like the aliens are here, they're good, they're helping us advance, but like I don't understand, right? Like how? But then when I was able to put them in the same perspective as a spirit guide or like a past loved one or like an angel, I was like, okay, that makes sense. So how people are able to communicate with their angels through mediumship, people are able to channel their interdimensional spirit guides through the same modality, right? So that really connected some dots. But I said, explain it to me. The answer was, of course, many interdimensional beings come from more evolved planets with more technology and accessible dimensions. And so I said, you mean like interdimensional time travel? And the answer was some can, yes. Very similar to humans, all temperaments and intelligences exist. So when we talk about them having more technology and accessible dimensions, I think we all know that obviously there's technology here on Earth that's existed before humans existed that we can't explain, right? So I think obviously we know that there's technology out there that's greater than what we know and understand here on planet Earth, right? And whenever we talk about accessible dimensions, there are 12 dimensions. So right now we are existing in the third dimension in the 3D. Most humans exist somewhere between the third, maybe low fourth dimension. Humans can't access things like the fifth and sixth dimension through things like the Akashic Records, through deep states of trance meditation, through things like energy healing. But generally our state is 3D, and really like 6D is, kind of the max most humans are able to go from a consciousness perspective, meaning that there's only, half the dimensions that the incredibly gifted humans are able to access, and there's all these other dimensions, right? And so a lot of people, for example, believe that dragons exist here, but they just exist in a different dimension, and our frequency and that dimension's frequency are not aligned. So essentially something could exist in the same dimension or frequency as you, and you could not know if you're not in that frequency. Just like how some people can see or know the spirits are around, and some people have no idea, right? It's whether or not you're tuned into that frequency. Okay. So I said next, is there more contact this year? And so the answer was yes, both through astral spirit guide connections, but also through crafts and physical experiences. So let's talk about that. 3, there's going to be some people that start to get telepathic communication or clairvoyant communication from interdimensional beings that are their spirit guides that are here to help them through their journey, in the same way that maybe people that were brought up in religion might look to angels, right? And the other thing that was very clear was crafts and physical experiences. So crafts meaning, I think we've all seen the videos of, there's lots of crafts that have been caught on video right now. And so that is going to be a more continual thing, where right now a lot of the spaceships that are around, they sort of cloak again into that other dimension where we can't see, so they could be around, we don't really know, right? And so a lot of that is going to not be as secretive, because they're sort of like, we're here. We need to get a little bit more mainstream with this disclosure, right? So, and then the other thing was physical experiences. So what I saw here was definitely experiences. I'm more seeing like very rural, very secluded areas, and people have experiences where, a craft lands near them and they do have physical encounters or experiences with an interdimensional being here in the physical. So all of those timelines exist for this year, which is crazy and super exciting. Okay, last thing I said, is there a big focus on interdimensional beings now because of the EP files? And the answer was yes. They thought aliens could defer some of the attention and energy, but instead, the human population was like, yeah, you guys already told us about aliens whenever COVID happened. We know, why are we not doing anything about the EP files, right? So that made a lot of sense, because I was sort of like, whenever they first came out, I was like, whoa, there's so much validation for literally so many different, conspiracy theories literally validated in the Epstein files. And so I was like, there has to be a reason, right? Because any information we get, there's always some way that the elites intend to use that maybe negatively against us. And it was very much like them bringing out the information of aliens or UFOs or whatever disclosure has been recent was simply a distraction. It wasn't them trying to be transparent. It was just another way of, hey, let's divert some of this attention because we don't really want to have to deal with this, because our entire structure as we know it is going to collapse, So that is what came through. This is a series I'm doing called Ask the Akashic Records. And so I'm just going into the Akashic Records, asking different questions that I want to know the answers to, or that you guys want to know the answers to. So if you guys have any topics you'd like me to ask the Akashic Records about, you can drop them in the comments, DM them, email me, whatever. All of my information is always linked in the show notes and in my bio. And if you want to work with me or get more of this content, I have a few options. I do have a 5D membership, which is things like how to access your Akashic Records, how to do your own past life regression, how to connect with your higher self. That's actually a membership through my website that you can try for a week for free, see if it aligns. And then I also have lots of ways to work with me one-on-one and in groups. So I do one-on-one Akashic Records readings. I teach Akashic Records. I also have a few different spiritual circles I do every month, and definitely some retreats to come later in the year. So all that's linked on my website. Also, I post a lot on Instagram if you guys want some, short form stuff over there as well. But yeah, everything will be linked in the show notes. Thank you guys for tuning in. Let me know if there's anything you want me to ask the Akashic Records, and I will see you on Thursday.